Good morning and welcome once again to Morning Vibe session with Career Counseling Online. Hi, I am Sanjay and I welcome you to this first session of this day. Well, it's very obvious that when we have a resource abundance in today's market, it becomes significantly difficult for any manager or any director and HR hiring managers to select that right candidate who's going to fit into the organizational structure, the organizational culture, and drive the organization towards the growth. Because you need to understand, as we all do, that an interview is the entry point for any resource or any candidate. A candidate decides his growth and the organization's growth too. The right candidate can motivate the team, can drive the team, can drive the goal, and be aligned to the vision and mission of the organization, resulting in a long time relationship in terms of organizational growth, in terms of personal growth, and in terms of contribution. But what if that candidate is wrong? What if the selection is not for the right candidate, or the candidate is not the right fit for the kind of culture that the organization has, the kind of operational scope or scalability that the organization has? Many times we have found that very resourceful, very knowledgeable resources or candidates are not able to gel into the process, not able to work with the kind of multicultural team, and even finding it very hard to grasp what's going on in the organization in terms of operation, in terms of process, and in terms of man management internally and externally. So in that case, it becomes significantly very, very important, very, very crucial that the right candidate be selected for the position. Now, when we have so much of resources available today, the right candidate finding could be very difficult. So that's the reason we find interviews happening. That's the reason we find the screening or aptitude tests happening, everything. See, a person who clears all the aptitude round or the qualifying rounds might not be judged properly at the time of interview about his viewpoints about multi-diverse culture. In that case, what happens is this resource, when put in a team wherein you have multi-diverse cultured people working together, he might find it a bit difficulty to communicate, not in terms of language, but in terms of understanding their culture, understanding, the way they think, the way they get into that idea, and gelling himself or herself along with the team. So in those cases, we find that many a times the communication gap starts building up. There is a lot of confusion, and ultimately the project suffers. So there is no hard and fast format or a template. No question can get a candidate's right set of mind. But there are few questions. There are few, very, I would say, restructured questions which could be asked to the right candidate. And when the answers comes, it is also very important those answers are analyzed properly, because many a times it is the understanding of the HR of the reply which either brings the unfit candidate into the resource or into the team or into the organization, or many a times many resourceful good candidates gets rejected because they were not able to get the answer clearly stated. So, like, the very first question that whenever we appear for any interview is, tell me something about yourself. Now the question first rises, that even did arise in my mind, is what kind of question is that? I mean, you already have my CV, you already know the details about my education, about my work experience. Now what are you expecting me to tell me about myself? I mean, do you want to know I play football, or do you want to know what kind of movies I like? Do you want to know what books do I like to read? Or what are you actually asking? So a lot of time there is a confusion. Even I have seen in my days during interview, conduction, that the candidates gets off the grid while answering. Either they are too vague, or they are too personal, or they are too detailed, or they are prolonged the answers so much that ultimately you find it very difficult to actually analyze the candidate. So when this question comes to you, I would believe the HR or the hiring managers needs to ask, along with this question. Once this question is answered, the first thing is you need to understand. You see, the hiring managers or the interviewers are trying to actually put you. They just want to know. It's just like, as we say, the icebreakers. This question is an icebreaker to the employer, to the interviewer, but to the interviewees, I would say, I always advise professionals who are appearing for interviews, that guys, this is a very crucial question, and it should be prepared very well. You should be prepared about this question, about an answer, and this answer cannot be one size fits all. If you are appearing for an organization, please do a research. Please do a research. Try to understand about their culture. Try to understand about their work ethics. Try to understand their diversification, their supporting of the environment, their policies about the CSR plans, and so on. What it that do is, the best way to answer this question is, the job description that has been given in the job details when you applied for this position. Try to mold your answer around those job description. If a job description is there which is asking for an analytical mind or a creative mind, you can remold your answer in that aspect, and start with something like, well, you already have my CV, but those are synopsis of what I have achieved in terms of my education and my working experience. But you know what? Along with that, I am a very since my childhood, I have been always a very very creative mind. I loved painting, and there have been days when I used to, as a child, I might have painted, I might have used my crayons and painted on the walls. It was a difficult time for my parents, cleaning those walls, but eventually, I learned a lot about being given the free will to practice. My parents never scolded me. My parents never, rebuked me for that. That also taught me the power of letting one person experiment. So I am very experimental. I love to work on creative ideas. I love creating new ideas, and seeing how they work, how they, like for instance, the kind of new projects when they come up. I am more interested in those kind of projects wherein it requires a lot of out of box thinking. So about me, I am, I would say, in a nutshell, I am that person who is very creative in terms of the new projects, experimental in terms of adapting new processes, and eager to learn. I am always eager to learn. So that's about me. So that's about me. See, that kind of question gives an idea about you. It's not too vague. It's not too, subdued, but at the same time, it is aligned to the job description or the job profile for which you are applying, wherein the employers were looking for a creative mind and an out of box thinker, and somebody who's open to learning, somebody who's not afraid of adopting new policies, changes in the organization, and so on. So along with this question to the HR professionals or the hiring managers, I would say, like, when this question is being answered, once the candidate answers this question as to tell me something about yourself, the second question that preferably should be asked is, so who's your role model? Now this question might appear insignificant along with the profile, because you might be eager to know about the technicalities, the way he handled the project, the way he has been working. But the thing is, honestly speaking, the way one person has worked, the way one person has delivered, the way one person has put up an effort, it's too I would say it's too difficult to analyze during just an interview, because the candidate would obviously try to give a very impressive answer, wherein they would like to say that, I took care of this project, and the figures changed from quarterly this balance to the next, and I was given the reward of the employee of the year, and so on. But the main thing is, these are the things which he says and you believe and you understand during the interview. But this question is not revealing his inner self. Now, as I have always mentioned in my previous videos, that guys, this is a time when it's not that you just look at a person's LinkedIn profile, or you look at the CV and you try judge a person on the professional ground. We have to encompass all the details about the person who's sitting in front of me, because this person has a family, this person has friends, this person has likes, dislikes. Unless you know all these parameters, it's very very difficult to judge that person as a fit resource. So along with that LinkedIn profile, which wherein you have little scope to show the personal traits, the candidates, I would say, these days it's happening also, the candidates Facebook page, Instagram handle, Twitter handle needs to be checked, just to see the kind of beliefs he has, the kind of likes and dislikes he has, whether he's liking spiritual quotation, or whether he's liking political quotations. See, it's nothing wrong about liking political quotation, or nothing great about liking the spiritual quotation, but the thing is, it makes you in a better position to actually understand the person as a whole, right? What kind of beliefs he has, what kind of photographies he's like, what kind of, maybe he likes to travel a lot. If you see a lot of likes against traveling sites and traveling pages, traveling blogs and so on, he might be somebody who loves to do a lot of planning. If you see even in the travel page, if he has written about things to carry, things to do, how to approach, the documents to be carried on, so he might give you an idea that he's very strategic, whatever thing he has, because even if he's taking a vacation, he's planning all the things. So that is a kind of mindset that you should be looking for, somebody who's a planner by default. It's not about only when he's in the work, when he's delivering his work, he's a planner, other time he's goes off the grid. It cannot be. If a person is a planner, whatever he or she is doing, they would like to follow a certain plan. There are again somebody who likes to experiment, who likes to take things as they come, and so on. But then again, that is also not wrong. So those are the kind of people who are open to change management. Those are the people who are open to experimenting, and so on. So when you ask this question, like who's your role model, see, the kind of answer will allow you to define or understand what kind of persona that person has. When a person says that his idol role model, after a bit of thinking, that his role model has been Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, you understand that this person or this candidate is business minded, is analytical, is sharp, and would like to correlate with Steve Jobs or Bill Gates in terms of growth, in terms of understanding business, in terms of delivering the best. And if the person is saying that he is inspired, or his role model is the Dalai Lama, His Holiness Dalai Lama, or Gandhi, or some other spiritual leader, it gives an idea that the candidate is somebody who's driven and motivated by ethics, strong culture, and values. So those are the kind of resource who would add a lot of value when added to teams wherein they are working on a long time projects, and so on. So the kind of person, the kind of role model that the person is following shows a kind of mindset that the resource has in him or her. See, the thing is, when you find the person selecting Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or as such any such personality from the business world, or entrepreneurs, so it shows that the person is free-willed, is analytical, is thoughtful, and is looking for growth. So if that kind of resource is aligned to those departments wherein the work is primarily into analysis of data, analysis of the growth pattern, and creating new process for improvement and so on, these kind of resources would do wonders. Whereas if this kind of person is put into a department which requires a lot of creativity, which requires a lot of experimenting with new ideas, or that kind of a person might find it a bit difficult to gel in, and his comfort zone might be a bit compromised. Now when you align a resource, his skill set or her skill set, along with his passion or the kind of values that he carries or she carries, with the kind of department which requires those skill sets, the results are great. I have always seen the results are great. A particular resource not doing so great with technical stuff or technical troubleshooting, is doing great with the business development team. She likes to communicate and explain the product, give a demonstration, take a webinar, and this person is more interactive. The person feels more lively. So when that kind of alignment happens, it is good for the employee, it is great for the organization, because these are the kind of employees which will bring a lot of growth in terms of internal department growth, in terms of revenue growth, and in terms of process improvement also, because these are the kind of people who are constantly looking for things which can be made better. So when that kind of person is put in a department, they are always looking for what could be better, what could have been done better, how different it could have been, and so on. So asking about the role model is very crucial, because the kind of answer that the person gives would let you understand the kind of mindset that the person has. And along with that, when you ask this question is not too personal. If you're asking your candidate like who do you spend your spare time with, now this might appear as a very casual question, but this the answer to this question is very crucial. I have found this question when asked to a lot of candidate, they are either fumbling or they are giving just a vague idea to just thinking that this is just a casual question, and this is nothing through which they are going to analyze me or through which they are going to try to understand me. But let me tell you, the kind of answer that you get to this particular question, that as to with whom you spend your time, is very crucial, is very, very crucial, because I'll tell you why. See, when a person says that in his spare time he likes to spend time with his family, with his parents, or with his wife, with his children, it gives an idea that this person is family oriented and strongly bonded with the family, strongly driven by the family values, and strongly motivated by the goods that the person can do for this his family. So this kind of resources would look for a kind of not only salary, would like for a kind of what kind of family insurance that the organization is providing, what kind of family benefit that the organization is providing, what kind of medical facilities the organization is providing in terms of his family members, in terms of covering his parents, and so on. So this is one kind of a person. If a person says that in his spare time he likes to read, he's a member of many libraries and he loves to read online, he loves to take up online courses, go through new topics, and learn new things. So this is a kind of candidate who is more open towards learning, who is more open towards growth, in terms of learning new things within the organization, learning new technology, new process, and new management roles. So if that kind of person is provided a role wherein it involves a lot of handling of knowledge bases, a lot of R&Ds, a lot of researches, So these are the kind of person who can do a lot, in the sense like this is something that they love, and I and you might be bored by the kind of time which our research takes. We might be not having that kind of searching skills also, which this person might have developed. So when this kind of people are put in the research and development team, they do great wonders, because for hours they can do the research, for hours they can sit and study what they have found, and they can prepare documents, they can prepare manuals, they can prepare instruction sets and so on. So these people feels very contributive when they are learning. So aligning that kind of person to the department, which involves a lot of R&D, lot of research, lot of preparation of documents, lot of preparation of manuals, these kind of resources would do great. Whereas if the person says that majorly, in his spare time he likes to spend with his friends, hang out with his friends, he loves sports, so he practices some sports, so he's a people's person, so he's more driven by team, he's driven more driven by companionship. So this kind of people would be great team players, this kind of people would be great in terms of team management, in terms of motivating the team, in terms of bringing everybody under one roof, in terms of challenges. And these are the kind of people who takes challenges in a very open mind, as to like, since this has come, let's work together, let's get onto it, let's get this resolved. So this mindset are something which defines the person. When you align that right kind of mindset with the right kind of skill set, with the right kind of work or assignment in a department, you get wonderful results. That is a great way to thank you so much, Shamda, thank you so much. All right. Thank you, Shamda, for joining me on the morning session. As I was mentioning, when you are aligning the right kind of skill set with the right kind of people who are into the right kind of work environment, they find themselves very contributing. They find themselves a lot more productive than if they are into some department wherein they are not able to use their skill set. Like if somebody is more prone towards research, more prone towards preparation of manuals, preparation of presentation, preparation of documents, that kind of person would find it very difficult interacting with customers. It's not that they cannot do it, but they will find it very, very difficult when it comes to interaction of the customer, because they might not be that interactive kind. They might be liking to work on their workstation, prepare these documents, do a lot of research. They might be that silent kind who are more observer, rather than the implementer. So the HR or the hiring manager should be very, very careful as to aligning this kind of mindset with the right kind of skill set with the work which is happening in the department. Now, with that, the other questions which can follow according to this might be, suppose if I find that question a great icebreaker. I find that question a great way to know the mindset of the candidate. Suppose if, let's say, you are a guy, or you appear for an interview, and you are a person who's into accounts, right? Who's into accounts. Now when this kind of question comes, like suppose we put you as the head of the marketing, how do you think your contribution would take the organization to the next level? You might be that's the shocking question which the HRs, many a times I have found, when asked to the candidates, I have never got a correct answer. The thing is, it's not that you are an accounts person and you will fail miserably if you are put as a marketing head. Yes, those are two different dimensions. Accounts and marketing is not correlated. I mean, though even they are related, but one role, somebody who has played the role of an accountant suddenly made the head of a marketing would face a lot of challenge, would fail also. But the thing is, you need to understand that the HR hiring manager or the director, whosoever is interviewing you, is not actually considering you for that role. What this HR hiring manager is trying to see is how good are you in taking the change management, like how open are you. If the candidate says, but sir, if you are considering me for marketing head, but I have gained all my experience in accounts, in dealing with accounts, in dealing with the banking procedure and so on, but how does my experience counts? Well, that immediately shows that you are not open towards experimenting or exploring new grounds. Now, what that makes you find is that the candidate, if you are the HR head, you find that the candidate is a bit rigid about change management. He or she is not confident growing out of their comfort grounds. Whatever subject or whatever field of work they were involved into, they want to stay to that. Now, that kind of mentality sometimes might pose a difficulty, because there might be some time when a particular person playing a particular role has to be given a different role altogether under an emergency situation. In that time, in that kind of situation, these kind of people will fail miserably, because they have this mental blockage, like I am belonging to the accounts operations. Now, what am I supposed to do with marketing? This has never been my cup of tea. This has never been my job. I've never handled any marketing projects and so on. But the thing is, you need to understand one thing. If you have a 20 years or 30 years or 10 years or 5 years of experience in a particular role, that role has taught you more than the particular job responsibility that you've been complying to. If you were into accounts, let's say, it has also taught you how to manage the project, how to meet the deadline, how to set the deadline. What happens if the client expectation is not met, if the contract is not renewed, if there is a fall in the revenue income and so on. So this kind of thought about the process, this kind of understanding about the operation, you can, honestly speaking, see, you can apply that on the marketing department also, because you need to understand, you need not be afraid that marketing department, everything is not on your shoulder. There are able managers, there are able executives who are already working with the marketing department. What is needed from you is guiding them towards that common goal. If you have to handle that role, it is not going to be very difficult. You need to understand, the HR hiring person or the director does not intend to recruit you as a marketing head, right? Like, let's say you are you are a coder, you are a software developer, and suddenly you are asked, like, suppose if we make you the business development head, how do you think you can contribute? Now, you need to understand, I mean, it's just that they are trying to see how open are you towards change, how open are you towards adapting to new roles. Now, when you give an answer as to, like, well, I have gained enough experience in terms of software development, and that has given me much better insight about what kind of difficulties the client face, what kind of expectations the client has when something goes wrong. I believe if given a role of a business development head, I would be able to drive the business development team towards a better revenue generation, as to I now already have the technical understanding of how the software works. Something goes wrong, I can work on that. I can contribute. At the same time, with that wonderful team that you have as the business development team, I believe I can give an extra leverage to my profile. I can contribute better. I'll be able to learn a lot, because that would be provide me a lot of scope to learn about business development, international market, and international client handling. And I believe it would be a very exciting role for me, wherein I'll be able to bring in my 20 years of experience of code development or software development, and at the same time learn from that wonderful team or that efficient team that you have as the business development team. And my profile will have an added dimension to to the career aspects. So when that kind of answer comes from from a potential resource, there is no way that the HR hiring person can reject that kind of resource who are open towards learning, who are open towards exploring new grounds, who are open towards adapting new policies, who are not afraid of going beyond the safe zone. Now, that is the kind of resource that any employer or any HR hiring manager would be looking for. So, for you guys, you need not be, who are appearing for the interview, even post COVID. There might be a question, there might be a role which would not really expect the direct utilization of your resource, but please don't be afraid. Go ahead and try to explore that role also, stating that the past experience of yours would help you understanding better in terms of the present role which that organization must have an opening with, and you personally believe that actually gives you an extra edge over other candidates in understanding business, in understanding the way it impacts, and the way you will be able to contribute to this would be much better than any other candidate. So guys, with that note, I would rather say, like, employees need to be very, very careful in answering this kind of questions, because these are the questions through which the employers or the HR managers are actually trying to understand how open you are towards adapting changes. Because see, post COVID, things would change drastically. Now, if you are that rigid person who would say that, unless I sit on my workstation, I cannot work, that would pose a very difficult situation, because you understand, post COVID-19, many organizations are going completely online, and they're saying that work from home is the new trend, is the new policy that they're going to at least adopt for the next 12 months. Like for Facebook and Google, they have back 2 to 3 days back, they have already mentioned that none of their employees have to come and come to the office for their work. They can work from home. They are all connected. They will be provided all the infrastructure, and they can work from home. They can work on the projects, and they can be from different geographic locations, no matter what. Since they don't have to report to any office anymore, Google actually is looking for employees, new recruits all across the globe, because they don't have to travel to that particular country. There is no requirement for migration. There is no requirement for applying for visa, other things, the legal documentations. At the same time, I might be in India and working for Google California head office, and I might be a full-time employee there. So if you are not adaptive towards this work from home culture, and if you say that unless I see my office, or unless I see my workstation, I cannot work, that is a kind of a rigidness which I don't think would work great in terms of emergencies. So guys, you should be open towards adapting new horizons, exploring new grounds, and you should be having that role model ready when asked, and be very, very careful about the kind of role model you select, because you understand that statement that a company makes a man. So today it's nothing wrong to say, oh, my role model has been Brad Pitt. Then you make sure that you make Brad Pitt's characteristics to his dedication about his work, or his discipline about reaching to the schedule, doing the movies, and so on. You bring out those qualities which are relevant to the job. You cannot say simply that he is so handsome, he is so nice to look at while the movie is on, his deliverables are good. Yes, his deliverables are good, his dialogue delivery is good. Then you might remold this question, or as your answer as, see, I love Brad Pitt because the way he communicates is so strong. I like strong communication. I like his way of to the point answers, and I like his attitude towards a fast decision making in whichever movies I have seen. So he motivates me a lot. Nothing wrong in that. But if you go vague, you actually lose the chance to answer that great question, which might land you into. Guys, with that note, today I wrap up this session of Morning Vibes, and just a reminder, today evening 7 o'clock 7 p.m. IST, we will be talking to a great entrepreneur, Pallab, is a corporate management and fund investment consultant, and he has founded his startup, which is Pix Insurance and Pix Investment, and he's handling a couple of high profile clients. And his journey began in 2014, and it has been ups and downs. He has changed into different kind of roles. He has emerged as a new evolved person, and his journey is as exciting as his work. So we will be knowing, and we will be seeing, and we will be learning a lot from Pallab. Please do join me today 7 p.m. IST for that great session in our weekly session of mindset, wherein we talk to entrepreneurs and try to understand their mindset in handling challenge, in handling fear, and emerging as a successful person. So, with that note, today, I wish you all the best. Do take care and have a great learn, contribute, and evolve.